Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Joyful Reader. I'm here with talking a little bit about goals for 2021. I had to get another planner because I lost my other one, but I'm trying to do a schedule to where I can post videos regularly and, well, not be distracted by anything else. This was something that my husband picked up yesterday, and I like it so far because it's October of this year, and then it goes on through January, so I have time, and this will serve as a planner for next year. Well, I'll probably use this planner until 2020, and then I'll switch to my other one, because the other one can be, this one can be my husband's, I think. I would like to read more of kind of YA and also more of classics, say like Sherlock Holmes, Agatha Christie. I've been waiting to kind of do that until I would be in a time where I would appreciate it more. Before I grew up watching the Poirot movies and stuff, and now I feel like it's time to just sit down and just start reading the Agatha Christie's. So we'll see what happens. I probably listen to audiobooks through Overdrive. And then some books that I'm kind of perusing are Flora, a biography by Elizabeth Gray Vining, who's the Windows for the Crown Prince. And so this is something I picked up in a secondhand shop where they had a bunch of biographies for sale, and so I picked up one also by Jules Verne, Jules Verne, sorry. This is about Flora MacDonald, and Flora MacDonald is remembered as the woman who gave shelter to Bonnie Prince Charlie, who was the pretender to the throne that upset England and Scotland. And so he had 30,000 pounds on his head, and so this woman named Flora gave him shelter, food, and so this is basically a story of her life. So I hope I can do a read-along of this and go ahead and show that. So there's that one. And then this one I mentioned too, so I'd like to read kind of more detective novels next year, especially Victorian. This is The Detective and Mr. Dickens. This is a retelling of the life of Wilkie Collins and basically a case that he works on with Charles Dickens. And so in this story, it's set between April and May of 1851. And so Inspector William Field of the Metropolitan Detectives of London is one of the first professional detectives. And so it is part fancy, part historical, so I'll see if this is going to be a fun read and whether it will do justice to both authors. Wilkie Collins was a writer of sensational or gothic dramas. He did The Moonstone and a couple of other ones, so I might want to also read The Moonstone next year. So kind of 40s / Victorian next year, but there's a lot of things I do want to read besides that. Things that I'd probably like to try and touch on this year and at least try and just do is Monsterland by James Crowley. I believe that I have read something from him. Actually, I take that back. This is this cover just reminds me of another artist for another writer. completely different. But this is about a tale of two brothers, Charlie and no, it is about a boy and his cousin. So Charlie is the main character and Billy is his cousin. They live near a graveyard, and then one day the boy, whose name is Billy, disappears, and so Charlie spends a long time wondering what is happening to him, and so he figures out that there is an underworld beneath the graveyard. So it's kind of like on a hunt for his cousin Billy and see if he can bring him back to the world of the living. So it kind of reminds me of stories where, in Scandinavian tales, where human beings are kidnapped and they are put into, sorry, I'm trying to actually look for my book on Scandinavian tales, put into as a type of prisoner where they are glamored into being servants and everything. So I did read the Graveyard Book. It was quite an unusual book, but I feel like this is kind of the opposite of the Graveyard Book, because someone is trying to, the graveyard is seen as kind of more in the traditional sense of being negative and very gothic. So there's that one. This one I'd gotten off of Book Outlet. So, and then one I'd like to finish. This one I picked up last year. The story sounds intriguing. I can't remember what year. This one was released in 2017. This is about a girl who has the ability to paint remarkable portraits of the Fae, and so she is sought out by this fairy prince, and she makes the terrible mistake of painting sorrow in his eyes. But not just any sorrow, human sorrow. So that's all I know of the book so far. We'll see how it ends up, but it should be an interesting read. And then two books I would like to finish is, I have read the second book, and I didn't realize that it was the second book, but start and finish A Whole New World, and then do As Old as Time. It's more of a kind of a gothic, I mean, As Old as Time and at least Once Upon a Dream are gothic traditionally, but this is kind of more of a vibe of, you know, something turning on its head. So, and then I would like to try and finish Book 2 and Book 3 of The Keepers of the Lost Cities. I enjoyed, I did enjoy, and I think I might have reviewed this one already, the first book of Keepers of the Lost Cities. It was a quick, clean read, and so I did really enjoy that. I'd take it out, but it's hard to take out. So I believe that's it. There are two books that I will review in the next video, but I think that's about it. I kind of want to see if I will pick up reading these next few books along with The School of Good and Evil for the first one, and then Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Books at least 1 through 4. If not this year, then either next spring or summer. But then again, things change pretty fast. Books that I have on, this is what I meant to kind of do last time. Books that I've had on my to-read list also is that I like to read informational books about literary genres. One of them is The Vampire Defanged, which is a Christian's perspective of, you know, how vampires have translated from, say, like Buffy the Vampire to the Twilight Saga to now. And this is by Susanna Clements. So I wanted to read this for October, but I read Gothic throughout the year. And then this has been on my to-be read list for a long time. This is the Hardbacks of the Grimm's Fairy Tales by Mariah Tatar. I almost want to say Tartan. No. So this is basically an analysis of the roles of the stepmothers in Grimm's fairy tales to the origins of, say, Rumpelstiltskin. So it is, these books are short, but the type is tiny for me. So I will be intrigued to read this. This one I have read in the past, but I don't know if I finished it. I might want to reread a couple essays just to kind of refresh my memory. I have done a lot of Gothic literature. I have read certain books from George W.M. Reynolds, Charles Dickens, and Radcliffe. So I'd kind of like to get back to that and see what other books I can find. It's been a while. But I do enjoy Gothic fiction and just learning about it and sharing. So there's that one. And then this one is a Hollow Earth. I thought I lost this book and then I found it in storage. But it is the long and curious history of imagining strange lands, fantastical creatures, advanced civilizations, and marvelous machines below the Earth's surface. And so Hollow Earth is a very old idea dating back, I want to say, to, it's the 17th century by the time this book starts. And it's the idea, and Conan Doyle, I think, touched on this in his Professor Challenger series. It's basically, what if there was another civilization at the center of the Earth, and also Jules Verne's too. It's basically a history of the literature that traces this thought back to 17th century. So you have Cyrus. They even have Poe mentioned in here. They have these fantastic vintage illustrations that shows you flashes of, you know, the other, or, you know, the unknown horror. But it's really quite an intriguing book, and I have a Mummy one, but the print is very tiny on that as well. And then they talk about Edgar Rice Burroughs, who it also touches on The Lost World and Amazing Stories. So I think I might pick up a copy of Amazing Stories in an anthology or something, and just kind of go through it and reread it. I would like to read short stories also next year, like go through some collections. But here it shows a picture of Journey to the Center of the Earth from an 1874 American edition. I mean, it's just really a pleasure to look at and to just learn from. Most of the pictures are black and white, but that doesn't really deter me. So yes, I'm looking forward to reading this book and tracing the thought of philosophy. And there were some scientists that actually believed that there was a civilization at the center of the Earth, and so that's what intrigues me for this. There is that. And the name of the guy that I'm thinking of is Cyrus Teed. I think it's Teed